Hello, everybody, and welcome to a digital woodcarver exclusive class, which we haven't had in a little while. So we're just getting it started. If you don't mind, I hate to do this. Give me just one quick second. A very important email that I sent out earlier did not make it to the recipient, and it's part of my bread and butter. It's how I make a living. So give me 2 seconds. It hit just right now. I just got a notification. Give me just a moment to see if I can. I'll look into it as quickly as I can. All right. So while that's in the background, how's everybody doing? And while we're sitting here kind of waiting for me, let me just quickly give you an update. So many of you might have seen post many of you might have seen the post that of why I haven't been around and everything. And I've been ill a little bit ill. So I've been kind of in and out of the ER. I'm not dying. I don't think so. I don't think I'm dying or anything like that crazy, but I've had some, issues from the neck down, if you will. So they're getting ready to do a Monday. I'm going to go back into the doctor's office, and they're gonna do an old scope. They're going to go up in there and see if everything's okay on the insides and all that wonderful jazz. And I'll let y'all know. But so it's kind of, affected the schedule a little bit. And then I had to go up to Indiana last week for a training class. And it's been just a little bit, kind of crazy the last couple of weeks. So I apologize about that, but we'll get back on track, and hopefully tonight we can get some things done. Give me just a quick moment once again, if I could. Just an FYI, it went to the business email address that you registered with for your financing. Did you by chance get to check that email and also check the spam folder? It's not going to come from me. It's going to come from Quickly's. Sorry about that, folks. I just got to get them settled around. Okay, there we go. Now you have my full attention. The project that we're working on tonight, while I was up there in Indiana teaching classes and everything, I had the owners of Digital Woodcarver. They just built their new home, got moved in and everything, and they really wanted a sign. The Mrs. Tishner, she really wanted a sign. She said, "I've always wanted this sign, and I can't, Burl's always so busy to make it and everything." And I said, "Well, I got the most beautiful piece of teak wood that I brought with me to do some class teaching on, and I can, we can take a look and see what I can come up with." And I didn't get to teach anything in the class. I didn't get to do any of that. But I did get to make the sign, and I was super surprised. I want to share with you guys this game-changing AI that I've kind of stumbled across, and I want to talk to you about some nice custom fonts and things like that and everything. So hopefully it's a good little project for tonight, and you get something out of it. The Clickly's just notified me that they're having a little issue with email sends, so they'll the email will go out as soon as they get that issue corrected. Click lease, not Quickly's. All right, sorry about that, folks. A little issue, technical issue on the other receiving end. All right, so let's switch over to the my other screen, and let's see if we can get going. First of all, let's do an audio check. It's been a while since I've had a class and all. Can everyone hear me okay? Is my volume too low? Is it too high? Do I need to make adjustments? Let me know what you got going on your end and what you're hearing and seeing, and we'll go from there. All right, let's switch over to an entire screen. All right, so let's kind of zoom out a little bit. Let's take a look at this sign. Really nice looking sign. Really nice looking sign. And the house, this house is physically their house. They had a photo of it, and I was able to take that photo, tell AI what I wanted to do, and it was able to generate that photo, which blew my mind, right? Totally blew my mind, and the results and all. The font, I'm a big fan of a font company called the Heritage Type Company. I really like, they have a small, very small, but very nice set of a variety of different bundles of their fonts. And the particular font that we have here is called the Milk Store font. And it comes with 5 different variations of the font. It comes with the kind of the script type font here. The Farmhouse text, it comes with that font. The Martinsville, Indiana text, it comes with that font. And if we look at the actual website of the or the Heritage Type Company, how are you guys doing? Let me get the guys in here, and let me see here. We got Ron and JR. Good evening, gentlemen. How are y'all doing?
Doing good, Laney. Good to see you back.
Hi. Everybody, this is Ronnie. This is JR, and they are gold members, and some of you other gold members are in the chat. If you're ever a gold member, I can host up to 9 of you on screen with me. If you ever want to join, the link is in the community page. It's a private link for the gold members to click on so they can join us like Ronnie and JR. How are you guys doing all right tonight?
Yeah.
Doing great. Doing great.
All right. Awesome. Well, glad I could be back, and been away for a while, but really quickly. So if we take a look here, the Heritage, first of all, Heritage Font Company, if we go home to the home page here, they have a variety of the vintage fonts, royal signage, and quite a few others. And I'm using the Milk Store font collection, but they have the Ultimate Vintage Bundle and other kind of things. And every once in a while, from time to time, they have their fonts and their graphics and everything, their elements and stuff like that. They have a sale on them. And when the sale happens, I tend to try to jump on it. So I have this this vintage font bundle, and it's on sale for $49, and I think that's what I paid for it. A while back ago, it was 70% off. And then the other night, because I was making this Farmhouse sign, The sample that they gave me, the sample photo of the farmhouse sign, kind of similar to what they wanted. I got to looking at the font and I said, I said, let me go look at the Heritage Font Company and see if they have anything in their bundles, if they have a font that maybe looks like something and all. And literally they have this, what's called this milk store font. And literally this is the same font bundle that was in the sample sign of what they showed me of the sign they want. And in the font bundle, it comes with the a solid font or a little distressed. So this one here on the picture, if I zoom in on that, the milk store is a little distressed. There's some distressing. So they have a clean font. They call the clean version. They have the distressed version, and then they have you know, the different styles. So the script, the, you know, the straight on, and so on and so forth. But so it's 5 of each of the, like there's like 15 different files that you download. And in the font collection, they have special characters where you can do like the little swishes and everything in there, you know, so like lantern to the swish there. You can add those in. They've got textured, rough, and clean. That's what I, you know, so like it could be a rough kind of font, textured or clean. So they've got that. And within the package, I mean, there's just quite a few different things in the special characters and all that stuff. So I mean, it was fully loaded for $39. I couldn't pass it up, and so it hit every mark that I needed to hit for the sign that I was making, and it's going to hit every mark for every kind of country store sign that I could ever possibly want to make in the future. The fonts are going to be just ideal for me, and so in here, you know, I was able to use the script fonts for the Tishner family, the established 1990, and then the large font for the Farmhouse, and that's actually called the store font. And then I forget what they call this one, but the nice font for the Martinsville, Indiana. And in the font files, in the font list, within the Vectric software, which I have not installed yet on this computer. It's on my laptop. I want to show you how to add a new font. And probably most of you know how to add a font to your computers and stuff. But whenever a font is installed on your computer, it is then able to be used in the Vectric software. So that's where I want to start. Let's get the font installed. Because like I said, when I was on the road, I made the sign. So the font is on my laptop, but it's not in my computer here. So let's go into my file explorer, and the under my desktop, I have a folder called Virus Quarantine. There's no virus, but what I do is anytime I download something from the internet, it goes into this file folder, and then I scan it with my Norton, and then if everything is all good and clean with, then it goes onto my main computer. So I call it Virus Quarantine. So interesting. But anyhow, if we go down here to the Milk Store font collection, there's nothing wrong with this. It's already been scanned. So I'm going to move it over to my Documents folder. And then I have the let me see here. Not that one. There's another file folder here. Today is 10/15, right? So 10/15. Oh Lord, I gotta right click and view large icons because I can't see what's what. So I may not have downloaded it yet. Okay, I haven't downloaded it yet, so we're going to download that. Give me a second. Go to the Font House sign. Take this forged scroll, Galaxy AI, and the house and the vectors. And then right click and download. Zipping for files. it is now officially downloaded. There we go. All right, so now we can extract that all. I don't need to scan these because I'm the one that uploaded them, so I trust them. And so what I want to show you here is I'm going to show you exactly how we did this in AI, but this is the picture of the farmhouse. And let me get you guys back on the screen so I can see your pretty faces. There we go, and your comments and all that. But let's minimize this and pull this up. So this is a picture of the farmhouse, okay? And when I first brought it into the sign, and I was doing it as a laser engraving, right? So I tried laser picture, laser sketch carve, laser cut and fill, and before the AI fixed the image, let's reset this back, and let's look at the house as a laser sketch engraving. So when I ran that toolpath, laser sketch engraving, on the actual picture, the photo of that house, the trees and everything was okay. It wasn't the greatest, but it was okay. But there was things missing. You know, the roof line and everything was missing here. The trees, you know, I can't, when it's a sketch engraving, there's no vectors. So as a sketch engraving, as a laser sketch engraving, that new toolpath, if we go over here and close this and look at the toolpaths, we have laser cut and fill, laser picture, and then laser sketch engraving. When we do the laser sketch engraving toolpath, it creates no vectors. It just creates the toolpath. So I couldn't go in there and remove some of the tree, you know, noise. I couldn't go in and fix any of the, you know, the roof lines or the wall lines because there's no vectors to work with. It's just a toolpath. And if I went into the actual toolpath and I tried to increase my line thickness or change anything like that, then I started losing detail. So it was not the way to go. And I was like, now this is when I first started. I said, yeah, I can make the sign. But then when they sent me the picture of the house, this picture, I thought, okay, what can we do? And so laser sketch engraving did not float the boat. It was good, but not great. I mean, it picked up some of the detail and everything, but it just didn't fit the bill. So I said, all right, well, let's do laser photo. And on laser picture, it scans the whole thing, right? And on the photo and everything, and it's the preview at least is way too dark. And you know, it burns everything. And it could be my preview settings, my burn rate and my preview settings are too high, you know, and so it turned dark and everything. But I didn't really have time because I only have a short period of time to get this thing made and then hit the road. I only had time to hit the road, and I only had time I had to get it done before I hit the road because I had to leave Indiana to go to South Carolina, to go to North Carolina, back to Florida. And this was my result on the laser picture. It was too black. I mean, it was burnt to a crisp. There's nothing I could do there. So I said, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? And I'm sitting here kind of stressing a little bit. But then I said, let me see what I can do with AI. And man alive, I'm going to tell you right now, I am so glad that I did. So let's pull over another tab here, and we're going to pop into my Galaxy AI account. If I can learn how to spell here, Galaxy .ai, Galaxy.ai. And let me see if I am logged in. I am logged in. So in Galaxy AI, they have a program or a AI tool called AI let me make sure I'm AI image editor. Sorry, AI image editor. And in here, we can upload an original file. We can type in a text of what we want to accomplish, and it'll produce, a result. And I had no clue what the result was going to be. But if we look at my edit history and everything, we'll talk about the second one there on the screen and stuff. And let's go to our original photo. So I uploaded this photo. And my prompt was a very simple prompt. What I said for this photo is I said in the text, I said, create a black and white graphic style image of the subject photo, comma, removing the sky and some of the trees in the background. That's it. That was my prompt. Generated the edit. And within a matter of moments, I came back with this. And I was super impressed. It got rid of a majority of the trees in the background and gave me just enough kind of a little bit of a highlight back there. The roof line, all the vectors were really nicely drawn and defined. Even the lines of the siding or whatever it is. The welcome, the American flag, and all the little details, little flowers and plants. Now, once again, that's the reference, or that's the result. That's the result. That's the original. So the hoe and the little bushes, all the little plants in this. I mean, it's kind of dark back there. The chair, all the thing and everything, all that stuff in the result. I mean, it picked up the hoe, all the little bushes, everything, even the door on the sign on the door. And I was like blown away. I was like, holy camole, man. And so I downloaded the image and I was able to just do a laser cut and fill, on the sign, the whole sign, all the text and everything all at once. It's kind of like a V carve. And it came out great. I could even V carve this. It comes out well too. And so I don't care. I don't know what AI, is used, but in this sketch editor, it's using what's called Nano Banana, the Gemini AI 2.5 flash model. So there's different models of ChatGPT, Image One, Image Mini, Quinn, ByteDance, Flux Pro, but Nano Banana. Man, Nano Banana, I've used it a few times, and of the second time, also very happy with the results. So if I look at my edit history again on this particular one, let's just take a look at this one really quickly. My original image had a customer reach out and say, "Hey, Lainey, I'm trying to laser engrave this logo, and it's not doing it right in Vectric. It's not coming out right and everything." And this image, when it traces in Vectric, it doesn't quite trace properly on the lines of the wreath and the outlines here and everything. And so it was engraving all of the wreath away in the V-carve toolpath. No matter, I did multiple traces. I traced just the wreath, and then the red, and then the gold and the blue. I did all kinds of traces. I worked with this customer for a little while. Couldn't get it to be exactly like he wanted it and everything. And I wasn't happy with it. So the first attempt on the trace, on the trace and everything, we came here, and I used the same wording, create a black and white style graphic of the subject photo. That's it. That's all I said, right? And it came with this image, and while it was okay, the tracing is great. There's nothing wrong with it. It was not what I wanted. It was a little bit reversed. So same reference image and everything. I come back to version 2 here, and this, all I said was the same, create a black and white graphic style image of the subject photo, but then I said mirror the black and white areas. Flip them, mirror them, right? And so it did. It flipped the black and white areas. And this exactly was the vector that I needed. Was able to bring it right into Vectric, do the bitmap trace, and it carved, or it laser engraved for him, or carved if he was carving, but he was actually laser engraving on slate. But it did exactly to him what he wanted. I am super impressed with Nano Banana that, now that I know that it can do that I can bring in an image and I can get results like this or results like that house. I'm sold on it, man, because there is no way I would be able to get a good, if I was just limited to using the photo sketch or the photo laser engrave, and then the sketch laser engrave, or in carving the V carve photo or the V carve, photo sketch. If I was only, able to use those, I wouldn't get the results that I want. I would have been disappointed. I wouldn't have been, I'd had to go back and say, you know what? I can't use that house. But AI came to the rescue. It saved my butt, and it did a great job. And I wanted to share that information with you. Now, Galaxy AI, I've talked about it in the past, ladies and gentlemen, and it's $15 a month, but I have access to 3,424 different AI tools for video editing, pictures, photos, voice clones, photo editing, lip sync generators. I can clone my voice and my YouTube videos and everything, but I have all these tools that I have access to. And when I claim my free credits and everything, I have I get rewards and everything. So I get 327,000 more credits, right, and stuff like that. But I get on my redemption history, I missed all these days, but every day I could literally go in there and I could redeem, click on these things, which I missed. I don't do it all the time, but all these things add up, and I could get, points build up. And right now I have 84.5 million points built up, and I get 15 million every month. When it renews, when my $19 removes, I get 15 million every month. And it only uses 0.6 of the million points, when I'm generating a photo or this or that. And so for the $15 a month, I've done a lot. My logo generators, music generators, and all these things. I can talk with Chat GPT. I get access to all the GPTs, all the Geminis, all the Perplexity, Pronoxity, but I get them all, and I really like Galaxy AI, so I would really highly recommend that to you. I have no affiliation with them, by the way. I don't get any kickbacks or nothing like that, but I would recommend them to you guys if you ever need it. Now I have the photo. Everything is done. I've got the fonts. So when it comes to the fonts and everything, I need to install those, right? So now in my documents folder, I can go to my Milk Store fonts, which I know I dropped that in here, right here, Milk Store font collection. I'm going to extract it. And when I unzip it, there are extras, all the little icon sets, the logo templates, and the textured backgrounds. I get all those folders, right? And on the icon sets, there's all kinds of cool, like little graphics. It could be like little eggs and chicken and milk, because all these little graphics, right? There's tons of them. And so on the extras, but let's get over to the fonts. And I have 5 different versions of the fonts. So Milk Store 1, I only need to download or install either the OTF or the TTF. I like the True Type fonts. So in here, I have clean, rough, and texture. It's clean, rough, and texture on all 5 folders, right? So you literally just select the font files and you right click and you come down and just click on install. Okay. And it'll install the fonts. Now I have to install them because they're not installed on this computer. So we'll install folder number 1. We come here to Milk Store number 2, open up the True Type fonts, select all 3 folders, right click and install. Rinse and repeat 5 times. And we'll have we'll be able to look at what Milk Store 1, 2, and 3 are, and 4 and 5. but let me get number 3 installed. Number 4, True Type font. And again, OTF or True Type, it doesn't matter. Vectric works with both, but I don't know. I like the True Type font. All right, and number 5. Now, on number install, on number 6, or the folder number 6 in the font folder, we have Milk Store number 6 icons. And so these are the different icons and the little, icons and their swishes and things like that. So we come in here and we install those. And so if I go back to Vectric now, Vectric, they used to original, like in versions 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, except for 12. In all the versions and everything, if I had Vectric already open, in this case, I do have Vectric open, and let's say that I had my font tool open. Normally, all I would had to have done back in the day was close the font box, so hit close, and when I reopened it, the fonts would be there. Now, when version 12 came out, 11.554, and then 12 came out, it stopped doing that. It required me I had to close the entire window, exit completely out of Vectric and restart it. Now, I mentioned this to them at the show, and so what I want to do is I'm going to close and restart this, and I want to see if the Milk Store fonts are in here, and if they are, then they have fixed the problem. So if we go down to the M's, no. So they have not fixed the problem. So in this situation, I would have to come in here and go File, Close. I'm not going to save any of my changes. I have to completely exit out of the Vectric software and restart it. I'm going to have to rewrite them again because it's so. I liked it originally and they said, oh, that's just an oversight on our part. We'll fix it. It's an oversight, but they haven't fixed it yet. So now that I've restarted the program, I'll restart the design and everything will work. So the next element, let's come in here and turn on layer 1, welded text, top text. Oops, not that one. The house trace, not the photo. House trace, and then no, it's not the house trace. What am I doing here? There we go. And then and so now I've got the font now, or fonts. I've got the image, so things are coming together. Well, now there were these little kind of they didn't look like this in the original photo. I wish I had the original photo, but they didn't look like this, but there was this kind of wrought iron, if you will, kind of look. And what it is there's the lower wrought iron here, and then the upper wrought iron is kind of divided by the house, so it's kind of split. The rod is kind of cut off there and the house covers it, kind of thing. And then we had the Farmhouse text. Let me get let me see what layer the Farmhouse text is on. And let me turn off this for right now. And so the wrought iron and everything on the original sample that they sent me and everything, I really, really liked. But there was no real way to kind of get it or anything like that. So I had to make it. So when it came to making it, I ended up importing an image. Desktop. Where's quarantine? Let's see here. Google Drive. Open this up. Let's move this to the side, and I have them right there already traced. But so then I found this kind of, it's a forged steel scrolls, right? Different versions and everything and all. And I ultimately ended up choosing this one over to the far right. So I was able to go into the trace tool. In the trace tool, I was able to kind of, what I did is I wanted to get rid of the black or the gray shadow right there. So I converted it to a black and white photo to eliminate that. I brought this up to a 75 on my threshold. My default corner fit, I always love my default corner fit. I'm a big advocate of it. I cranked this up to just 3 or 4. Turn that fading off so you can see. And then preview, apply, and close. And so I was able to create that. And let's turn off the picture. I was able to create that tracing. And on the tracing, I was able to ungroup that. U is the keyboard shortcut for ungroup. Get rid of that text there. And then on my on the scroll sample here, you know, it was, while it was good, there was a little bit of you know, some kind of crooked lines and things like that. So one of my favorite tools, like when I have lines that are a little wonky and stuff like that, one of my favorite tools is the curve fit tool. So in the curve fit tool, it allows me to redraw the vector. It redraws the vector, and it will, if I choose the fit type to be, let's say, circular arcs or Bezier curves or straight lines, it's going to take the existing vector that I'm trying to trace or replace, if you will, or clean up. And if I choose straight line, it'll straighten out any crooked lines. If I choose circular arcs, it'll make, you know, arcs and clean things up. If I choose Bezier curves, it'll smooth out all the curves. Well, these, when you're dealing with something like this, it is Bezier curves. There's no arcs in here. It's not, there's no circular arcs. It's all smooth curves. And in this case, if I look at the node editing on this, it's not too terrible as far as the nodes and all. There's not a whole lot. It's not crazy and all, but there are a few little, you know, funky stuff and things like that. So if I come in here and I go into my selection tool and go to my curve fit, let's make this bigger. And I'm going to move it over to the left because all of us guys are kind of on the right here. But when I come in here and do this, what I want to choose, that my go-to settings are Bezier, well, whatever it is. In this case, it's a Bezier curve, but my tolerance, that's my go-to, is 10 thousandths. So the bigger the tolerance, 1/8 of an inch, 1/4 of an inch, that kind of thing, the more it deforms the shape to, it just ruins the entire shape. The smaller the tolerance, it'll make minor changes to the line and not massive changes, right? So here, 10 thousandths tolerance, 10 thousandths of an inch tolerance, it'll make minor changes, but I'm not going to lose or distort my shape too badly. So there's no sharp corners in here that I want to keep, so that's unchecked, but I want to replace the vectors. So when I hit preview, you'll see a majority of those little points went away, and it will go in and it will redraw and kind of somewhat subtle up. So let's look at Control Z, the before, and let's really look right here and everything. Control Y, Control Z, and Control Y. I screwed up the Control Y, so let me just do it again really quickly. So preview. And so a minor change, not really, you know, a lot. Now, if I make my tolerance, I'll just make it a little bit bigger. Let's go 0.6 just to show you. And I hit preview, it'll really change and distort the shape, right? And I don't want to do that. I don't want to distort that. I just want to try to somewhat smooth it out. So let me hit undo, undo. Go back to my original. Change this to 10 thousandths. And what I'm looking at is just to see if I can kind of, you know, smooth things out a little bit. Preview, and you know, it creates that. And if I want to click OK and close, Now, if I want to, let's say I wanted to straighten this up, now I only have 2 nodes to deal with, and I can just pull this anchor up, and you know, I can kind of round that up if I want. Same thing here. I've got just 2 nodes instead of all the other nodes, and I could, if I wanted to, let's not do that. If I wanted to, you know, change anything, I could come in and, you know, fine tune it a little bit. And so the curve fit tool does a majority of that for me. And I was actually, you know, after the trace, I was content with what the result was. I didn't go any further than that, right? So on the after the trace and everything, I'm going to draw a rectangle. So now I'm going to create this little part here. So I'm going to draw a rectangle, and I kind of went thin with my part, and I went with an 1/8 inch height, and I drew a and let me see what I ended up with when it was all said and done. Let me measure a vertical measurement from here to here, 0.1. So I ended up kind of bringing it down a little bit from that 1/8 of an inch, but we'll stick with an 1/8 right now. But all I did was I came over here and I drew just a short rectangle. I only made the end piece, like this piece right here. And so I rotated this around, and then I flipped it. So I came in here and H for horizontal to flip it. And when I brought it down, let's hit G for group. When I brought it down to the rectangle, I needed this part to come down and touch as well. So whenever you're trying to rotate a part, by default, ladies and gentlemen that might not be aware of this, by default, it always rotates off the center. So if I grab these rotation arms, it's going to rotate off the center. So if I bring this down, it's like a teeter-totter. It's going to bring that up. So no matter what I do, it's going to teeter-totter. And I need it to make contact on both ends. So in the middle box, when you double click on your item and put it in what's called transform mode, if you single click your mouse on that middle box, the pivot point reveals itself, this little round circle. So a single click reveals the pivot point. Now that pivot point, I'm able to drag anywhere on my screen or on my part or whatever. And in this case, I want to drag it right down to this connection right here. And the first thing I want to do on my part is I want to use the up arrow, and I'm going to bump it just where there's a little bit of an overlap right there. But I'm going to pivot on that point, and now I can move this however I want. And so as I pivot, I came in here, zoom in. I only want a very small amount of overlap just so I can do some trimming or welding or whatever you want it to be, but a very small overlap there. And so now I had that part making contact. Now that I had that part, I needed to make the arrowhead. I wanted to make the arrowhead here. And so that I used the polygon tool. So with the polygon tool, a 3-sided polygon is a triangle, right? And so I drew out a triangle. Doesn't matter what size it is right at this point, because we're going to be changing it. But the first thing is I sized it down to a little bit of an appropriate size, and I stretched it slightly. And then I grabbed it on the side and I brought it in and kind of squeezed it down. So it was a little narrower. And then in node editing, I turned the left side into an arc, and I pulled it back to where there was just a little bit of a round edge. And notice the distance says 0.475 just to the left of my mouse right there, and everything. So on the right side, when I pull this into an arc, I can bring this back, and I can bring it back to that 0.475 to match it up on the left side. And then I was able to hit the number 9 key on my keyboard to rotate that clockwise, come in here and just, I want to center it. So if I grab it, let me move it out of the way here. If I grab it on the center point, I can then smart snap it to the center point of the rectangle. And of course, I wanted to back it off just a little bit to create a little bit of an overlap. Now at this point and everything, if I'm happy with that and content with that and all, which in this case, somewhat I am, I can select all three overlapping lines. Let me ungroup this here because I only want the overlapping lines. I do not want the inside of that scroll, just the lines that are overlapping. And I can weld those parts together to connect everything to create that piece, however I want to do it. And then it's just a matter of mirroring it, left to right, and then drawing a rectangle in between to connect them together. And I didn't really draw a rectangle in between. All I did was go into node editing, grab the two nodes here, and I used the left arrow or the right arrow of my keyboard and just drag those two nodes, holding down that left arrow all the way across to the other side to where there was a little bit of an overlap. And then I took the scissors and cleaned everything up, right? So that's how I made that bottom piece, right? So that's that. And now let me hit undo on that. And now that gave me all the elements I needed to lay out this sign. And so what I would like to do with you all tonight is I want to replicate the sign, but I'm going to use different text, different names and all that stuff, but the same fonts and all. And I want to kind of just, work through the process real quick. So if we come over here and I'm going to take this and just move it over here. Let me turn off that toolpath that I got checked right there. All right. And I must have hit undo way too many times because I undid all of that welding and all that stuff. Let's hit. Oop. Again, grab this part in its center, snap it to the center of this rectangle, bring it in a little bit, however you want, and then I need to weld these three parts together. Let me ungroup this. I must have backed up quite a bit. So ungroup, U is the keyboard shortcut for ungroup, G is for group, and then I'll weld those back together. So now that I have my elements and everything, all of that stuff, now I can start laying out the sign. So let's get rid of these guidelines, delete all guides, and let's start off with the fonts. If I come in here and open the font box this time, now I should be able to come down and I have my Milk Store fonts in my list, Milk Store 1 through 6. And so that what we can see is I'm just going to put Hello World for a moment. I'm going to drag this onto the screen, bring the size down to a 1.5 inch, 1 3/4 inch. So it's a pretty fairly decent size. And I'm going to bring this up, hold down the control key, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. All I'm doing is this is for preview purposes only. I'm going to hit the letter M on the keyboard to jump down to, it's not going to jump down because I actually have an M at the top of the screen. But let's go to Milk Store font number 1. I have the option of, on the Milk Store font number 1, I have the option of clean, rough, and textured. I'm just going to do clean on them all. But that is the, and let's go, I went all capitals like an idiot. Let's go hello, all lowercase, hello world. And so it's a really nice script font for this. And you can stretch it, you can do whatever you want with it, but that is number 1. So here, if I go into the font family, come down, Milk Store font number 2, clean, is just a really nice, it's got some nice tall letters and spacing and everything. So I like, you know, the tall here, and then it's kind of short there. Or I think it might be even. It looks like it's different, but that's number 2. Wonderful. Number 3, Milk Store font. Number 3, clean. That now, no matter what, now I was in lowercase, but it did all type, it all capital. So that's the Farmhouse text. I call it the farm. That's the one that the word farmhouse is in. So it's all capitals and everything. And again, if we look at this, there is, I'll just show you this one real quick. There's clean, rough, little rough around the edges, right? So it kind of gives it that edgy look. And then there is textured, right? So clean, rough, and textured. So in this case, we were looking at the clean samples of everything. So that's the clean. All right. So 1, 2, 3, let's go to here. Number 4. And number 4, clean, is just kind of, you know, it's got that little rounded text and everything, rounded letters, rounded edges and everything, all those fillets on the inside. And then number 5 is the final font option. And then number 6 are little icons. So if we go down to Milk Store, number 5, clean, it is a similar to number, what is that? 1, 2, 3, similar to number 3, but thinner, kind of a little bit more, you know, smaller and everything. So there are the 5 fonts options and all. And then number 6 were the icons and graphics and stuff. So if I come down to the Milk Store font and go number 6, and I'll just go clean with whatever letters that make up Milk Store, right? So we have it's just little icons, really nice little icons of different things. So if I was making you a fish market sign, or, you know, a little winery, or whatever the case would be, things like that. And on this particular font, if we just kind of just really quickly, I'll just look at some of the beginnings. But if I type in A, it's a capital A, it's a flag. If I type in lowercase, it's still a flag, right? So it doesn't matter what letter it is, but each letter, so this is A, B, C, D, E, F, G. You know, so we got some beer, hatchets, and all that stuff. And then G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N. Bikes, hats, pizzas, more coffee, ice cream, things like that. So there's all kinds of cool little icons, and that's that. Now that's not the other folders that I didn't install. That's not the folders for the textures, and there was a few other things. There's a lot of different options on that font. So let me see here really quickly. On that folder, that's not it. Over here, outside of fonts, there is extras. So there's icon set, logo templates. So there's some template layouts already, bunches of template layouts already. And then there are textured backgrounds. And of course, I can't see, they're really hard to see in the black and white, but I'm sure they come out well, but it's just textured backgrounds. And again, I don't think I have any need for any of those, but it's hard. It's really dark, really hard to see, but it's just like rock, like it's like a lava rock, if you will. But all that stuff came with that for $39. I can't beat it. It gives me a great looking fonts, a great looking font family, if you will. And I can really do a lot with it, especially with the rough, the smooth, and the textured. The rough, clean, and textured and all that. So that's that. All right, y'all still with me? I'm going to put y'all to sleep. How we doing? Everybody good? Because now we're going to lay out this sign. So on this sign, the very first thing I did was I created the size of the board. Now, I knew on this farm side, I wanted a golden ratio rectangle on the sign. Very, very, it was very important to me that it was very aesthetically pleasing to the eye. Now, this white board on here was a 24 by 24 piece of teak, so I just had that. But the sign itself, ended up being a 24 by 16. I wanted that nice aesthetic reason, that look. Now, for those of you that aren't mathematicians and things like that and all that wonderful stuff, the golden ratio is, you can see it, in the Roman Empire and all the buildings and just everywhere in the world. It is just a really nice ratio, one item times 1.618. And it goes on a few other decimals, but 1.618 is good enough. And it creates a very aesthetically pleasing to the eye rectangle. And if I were drawing a rectangle, if I knew one size or the other, length or width, I only need to know one dimension, then I can either divide by the golden ratio of 1.618, or I can multiply by the golden ratio to get the other dimension. Okay. And so it really depends on what you want. Now, if I didn't know the number off the top of my head and I didn't, let's say I didn't have internet and I couldn't go look it up and my phone was dead, whatever, right? I don't have access to the world and I don't know how to get, to know what that number is, 1.618. There's a very simple way to draw it out in vectors to get the golden ratio. So what you do is you start out with a square. And on the square, let's say that I have a square here and I'm going to go 10 inches. And I want to find the golden ratio to this 10 inches. Well, all I need to do is I will take a line, and from the center of that rectangle at the bottom, I will draw a line at a diagonal all the way up to the corner here. And then all I need to do is take the pivot point of that line, drag it down to the bottom center point of the line here, and then drag out that line until it's vertical 90 degrees. And then I can extend my square out to the end of that line to get that box or that golden ratio. So that is a very nice ratio of length and width and everything for that ratio. And so that's how you do it. And you can do that vertically if it's vertical or horizontal. Mine happens to be horizontal. So either way, but that is how you achieve that in drawing versus doing the math, right? Whatever the 10 times 1.618, right? All right. So first thing I did on here is I started out with my rectangle, and with the size, my known number was 24. And so the golden ratio for a 24-inch wide sign is like 14 and some change. And the Tishner family and the house had a big tall roof. I was a little cramped, so I had to kind of extend my height of my box a little. So I ended up with adding 2 inches, an inch on each end, top and bottom. And so it gave me a 24 by 16 frame. So that's my frame for this particular layout. And then I wanted to offset that rectangle inward using the offset tool. I want to go inward 1 inch. I think I went 1. I believe it was 1 on that. And then from that 1 inch, I offset in, oh Lord, it was, I believe, 3/16 or 1/8 of an inch. Let me take a quick measurement here. A horizontal measurement from this point to this point. So a 1/16 of an inch, a little under a 1/16. And so you guys doing all right? Everybody doing all right? I know I'm just talking straight up, but I mean, are y'all doing okay? Give me a thumbs up in the chat if you're still alive. How you doing over there, Ronnie and JR? Y'all doing all right?
Doing good. Doing good.
All right, man. Hopefully I'm not boring you. I'm just trying to get, trying to pass along some of this information, and hopefully it's interesting. I don't know, but y'all let me know. All right. So a 16th inch offset. Now this offset was because I was using a laser instead of the end mill. And what I wanted is I needed that nice line going around for the border. And I wanted, instead of the laser carving just a single line, I wanted the laser to have a little bit of width to it, that burn to have a little bit of width to it. So I made a 1/16 of an inch offset, right? And so in here, basically, it was a matter of taking this rectangle, coming in, using the offset tool, offsetting inward 0.0625, keeping the sharp corners, that was important, and then selecting the new. Right now, in this case, I want to change this up because I'm not using the laser. I'm going to use a V-bit on this particular side. I'm going to V-carve this. So I'm actually going to undo that, Control Z, and I'm going to go 1/8 of an inch. I'm going to double that up. So 0.125, too many decimal points there. And I'm going to offset that. I just want to double it up. Now I needed to create this bottom frame here. Very simple to do. First thing you do is I came in here with a rectangle and I figured out what width or how wide I wanted the rectangle to be, both on the width and the length, of it. And on the width, let's see what size I'm at on the size tool here. I'm about 1.1 inches. I'm going to go 1.5 here. That's a lie. No, that's true, 1.5. But I needed to uncheck the link XY because this is only going to be, a very, not that short. Let's extend it out. If I hold the shift key, I can extend both out evenly. Let's go to right about there to begin with. Now, on here, everything is currently centered left to right on my board. Everything is laid out centered. So I want to make sure that that's centered as well to the material. Shift that over a little bit. And then I'm going to take my circle tool here and I'm going to come in to the center of my rectangle and I'm going to draw a circle. And your circle can be as big as you want. I kind of want a little bit of a lip here and a lip there. So I will stick to this 1.25 right there. Click apply. And then I want to mirror it and flip it to the other side. So since everything is centered, all I have to do is go to the mirror tool, check off the box to flip about the job center, check off the box to create a mirrored copy, and then flip it horizontally. Now at that point, I could select those 3 vectors and notice my mouse, I'm going right to left because if my little selection window that I'm drawing touches any of the vectors, it will select them all. I do not have to go full on. But now I could have also went left to right because my little frame that goes all the way around there, only my small part here is in 100% in the box. Nothing else is, so it won't select anything else. But that I'm able to weld together, and that gives me this look here. Now, to get rid of this line down the middle, the first thing I want to do is I want to create a little bit of a space here. So if we look at the reference image, you can see that space right there, So to achieve that, I just offset this selected vector outward, and I'm going to offset it outward 3/16 of an inch. Keep the sharp corners. It doesn't matter if you keep the sharp corners in this case, but I just want to offset it. And what that does is it gives me a reference point that I can now come in and take a straight line. I'll come just a little bit off that 90-degree line, right straight down, space bar. I believe is that 90 degrees? It is. It just looks crooked because of the round thing. And the same distance on this side. So that selected vector is going to get mirrored. Once again, flip horizontally, creating that mirrored copy. So it puts it in the same area. And then I can take my scissors and zoom in really tight so I can get in there and trim here and here. Get rid of those 2 lines. Get rid of those 2 in the middle with the scissors. Get rid of those 2. Zoom in really tight. Get rid of that one and this one. And then finally, I can come in and delete that offset because it's no longer needed. And that creates my spacing, right? Super simple layout, right? To get that. And here it could be anything for me, and for the sign, the milk sign and all, it was the city and state for which they live, right? And of course, now if we look at this one here, I went almost 1.5 inches, about 1.45 inches on that particular one. On this one, we went 1.5 inches, so it's a little bit wider, and which is great. So for me, let's say that I live in Ocala, Florida. It's going to be all capital letters in this case, Ocala, comma, and not the comma. We're not going to use the comma. We're actually going to use a period, because the comma throws it off and everything. So we're going to actually use a period, and then Florida. Let me learn how to spell Florida. And then that, for some odd reason, I'm still in the funky font. This is the one where I wanted the smaller, which was Milk Store number 2, clean font. And on this font, just by typing this out like this, it doesn't fit. It doesn't give me the fit that I want and things like that. I can come in here and I can squish it right, and I can stretch it and all of that stuff. Did I spell Florida right? I did. Yeah. I could stretch it and everything, but it's easier for me to, let me just hit delete on that. It's easier for me to, instead of using the text tool, to use the text in a box tool. Now, if I use the text in a box tool and I select that box right there, now it's going to auto fit whatever I type in there to that box. So now when I come in here and I type in Ocala, period, Florida, it's going to make sure that the margins and everything, because I have normal margins set here, but if I didn't, I could say, okay, I want wide margins. I want no margins, where it stretches right to that box. I could be to the left of that box, to the right of that box, or the center. In this case, I want to be the center, whatever it is. So I do want normal margins. And, Ocala, Florida is, it's not that big and all that stuff this way, but I could stretch the characters vertically or horizontally. In this case, it's a horizontal stretch, not that, but I could stretch the spacing, the kerning, or the characters. So if I stretch that out, it'll stretch it out, right? That's the stretch of the characters. Now let's undo that. If I would have chose stretch, oops, I hit delete like a goofball. Let's undo that. Why is my Control Z deleting my text? Let's put that back in there. Ocala.
Put a tilde in.
Ocala dot Florida. All right. So if I would have chose, instead of stretch text, if I would have chose stretch kerning, it would have spaced out the letter, the kerning, the space between the letters, right? So they would have stayed their normal size, but it would have just put that equal spacing in between. And JR, what did you say, bud?
Say, instead of a period, put a tilde.
What's a tilde?
See, on my keyboard, it's that little squiggly line next to the 1 key.
Right. Is it the squiggly line or the one right below it?
Squiggly line.
All right. So hold on a second. Instead of a period, it's called a tilde, like Matilda. Yep. All right. So that would be a shift.
Yeah. Space dash shift.
Yeah. So there's that. Let me just see what the other one is without the space bar. So that's a box. Okay. So space dash shift. What now?
Yeah. Just put a space in between Ocala, then put your tilde, and then a space Florida.
Yeah. Gotcha. Okay. So in space after Ocala, space after that. Okay.
One too many spaces.
So, well, this is spaced out because of the kerning. It'll cramp back together if I change the. So there's only one space actually up here in my actual text, but it looks doubled here because everything is stretched out. So if I choose, instead of kerning, stretch kerning, if I choose stretch spaces, now it really stretches the spaces, but it keeps the letters together. So my 3 choices are Stretch spaces, so it only stretches the spaces. Stretch kerning, where it stretches the letters and everything in, between the letters, or actually stretch the characters, right? So it stretches the characters and everything. Now, JR, if I take the space out before Florida or before Ocala and then after Florida on this, I still in here, I still have a little bit of a decent spacing because that's just the way the cookie, that's just the way this font is and all that stuff, right? And so, oops. And so in here, if I stretch the kerning and everything, I still got to, even though there's no space between the letters here, there's a decent space there, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So whatever option it is, whatever looks good for you, and there is no, other option other than bold, right? So we have regular and bold. Now, if you do bold, be mindful that it creates all these crossovers and stuff. So you got to clean those up. So you got to be mindful. Some of the fonts, bold is not a good option. In this case, I don't want to do that. Now, Milk Store 2 was a good font for this. It's kind of just that. All that is just the city and state, right? And so if you notice here, this had just a little bit of ellipse because that's what it was in the sample photo that they gave me, and all. So that's why I went with that. But no, this looks, I actually kind of like, that's pretty neat. A tilde. I didn't know what the hell that was. Okay, but I like it. All right, so now let's get rid of Ocala here. So now I've got the city and the state. I've got my little frame laid out. Now, of course, I didn't have to stretch out that little panel, that far. I could have brought it in some to kind of, so there's not big empty gaps here. But I actually want the empty gaps because there's another little element that I like, and I actually like the stars. I like a star. So I'm going to take a 5-pointed star with an 38.2 radius. That's a constitutional star, 38.2. And I want to come in here and let's just kind of stretch it out to the size that I want. And let's get it centered up and down. The alignment tool, up and down. You goofball. Hold down the shift key and select this rectangle here, and then align up and down to shift there. I like its position. I think that looks good. So then I'm going to mirror it to the other side. So select that and mirror. Create a mirror copy, flip about job center horizontally. All right, so there we go. So there's my little fill in. I like my little fill in there. It could be anything that you want. It could be, hell, it could have been one of those icons. It could have been the little ice creams, or it could have been the pizza or the coffee or the beer bottle or whatever the may be. Those little icons, it could have been any of those because it might go with the theme of the country store, right? Whatever it is. It could have been the eggs or the chicken or, whatever A through Z is. On all those icon sets, I'm choosing a star because I like a star, right? That kind of thing. So now on here, Ocala, Florida. Now, my last name is different from, my last name is Shaughnessy, and that's an adoptive last name. I was adopted by my stepfather. And Shaughnessy has 11 letters in it. It's really long. And so if I took my original last name before my adoption, which was Chambers, that's a little shorter. But it all depends on how much room I have on my sign. So if I put the Shaughnessy family, it's going to be, it's going to be a little bit of a stretch, but that's all right. We'll do that. And when it comes to the Shaughnessy family, I mean, I have a daughter, but I have a sister with my same last name, but my mother's last name is different. My dad's last name was different because my original dad, my stepfather, his last name is Shaughnessy. But anyway, so there's no Shaughnessy family right now. There's just me and my dog. But so I don't know what the hell I'll put there. But what I'm going to do is for me, we'll make up a name right now. And I'm going to pick one. I'm going to just pick from the crowd, and we're going to do the Kessler family because Kessler, and we'll change Ocala, Florida to Citra, Florida, still Florida. But so Keith, I hope you don't mind. I'm about to use your last name there, but we're going to come in here and we'll do no capital or no all capitals. It's just going to be regular type. So the Kessler family, right? And so Kessler is Kessler. And then I'm going to change this font up to number 1. So the clean font number 1. Let me go down to Milk Store because it didn't save up at the top. Milk Store number 1 clean. God, it's a really good looking font. And then it's going to get welded together. But before I weld it, I want to give it a little bit of a curve, right? So what I want to do with this, what I actually want to do with this is I want to go into my text tool and I want to just slightly pull it up and just give it a nice subtle curve. I don't want to be too crazy, right? I don't like that. Drives me nuts when I see things like that, you know, in a small area. It's like a big old arch. But man, when it's just a little subtle, just a nice subtle flow or something, it's really it's got a really nice look to it. So I can either go flat or I can give it just a nice subtle curve and everything. I think we're going to go with about something like that. Now that I have that position and everything that I want, or that I have there, then now I'm going to weld it together and I'll go ahead and I want to keep the original. Okay. So if I click on keep, it takes the welded text and puts it on top. It selects that welded text that it created. So that is the text that is selected. The welded text is selected. So if I right click immediately, I don't click anywhere else on the screen. If I right click immediately, then I can go down and I can move that to a layer. And on this layer, I'll create a new layer and I'll call it the welded top text. And I could change the color if I wanted to. There's no need to in this case, but I could. But I do want to turn off the activity here. And I want to turn off the visibility. And I want to click OK because my original text is right here. And I want to go ahead and take this, right click on it, move that to its own layer. And I want to put this to my original top text. And then I can go ahead and turn that layer a different color if I want to, but I'm not going to. There's no need for it, but I can turn its visibility off and its activity off and close that. And then in my layer list, I can come down here to my welded top text layer, turn that back on. I've now got that. And then I can go ahead and I'll just use my up arrow on the keyboard and I'll pull that up, right? Just wherever you want, somewhere up the nice and top and everything. Now, let's say that, Keith, I'm going to have you, if you don't mind, if you're a married man, put your established date, if you remember, not putting you on the spot. Hopefully your wife's not there and you remember your year, just the year, buddy. It's all you got to remember. So give me your established year of the Kessler family, if you got that off the top of your noggin. All right, but I really like this font. I think it's just a nice looking font. And if I did it with the distressed, it looks good too. But anyway, there's that. And so in the interim, let's go down here and let's go open up the text tool. We'll change Ocala to a Citra. See a Citra. And close that. Now, on here, when I typed in and changed Citra, it kind of, they're a little bit, I think it's a little bit more spacing and all that stuff. So it's a really cool, neat thing. If I go into that text tool again, and I come down here and I change the, the stretch of it, whatever it is, I can go back to the stretch and it'll kind of balance everything out, or it'll kind of retype it. And that's what it was. It's fine. So Citra, Florida. And even though I stretched the kerning here, if I didn't like that, watch this, ladies and gentlemen, I can go into the text tool and Hold on a minute. I changed the font there. Not that one. Where's my number 3? Where's my number 3? Number 2. There we go. While I'm in here, while I'm in the text tool, I can put my mouse in between the letters here, and I can, if I want to, I can reduce the spacing if I desire, right? But if I do that, I don't want to have to click, 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 each and every one of these, one at a time and try to get the same spacing or the same clicks and all that. That's a waste of my time and energy. But if I come over to this first set right here and I hold down the alternate key, and I click whatever clicks I do here, it's going to do it evenly between all the spaces. So if I come in here and I hold down that alternate key and I click, it's going to reduce the spacing on all the letters, not just the 2 letters I'm clicking in between, right? So whatever it is I want to do. So if I want to make adjustments to that spacing and everything, I can. And I'm going to stretch that out just a little bit right there. Kind of, we'll keep that there. All right. So let's see here. How did you get 2018 established? But how did you get the text to curve? On the original font.
What is going on here?
I'm multitasking.
On the original font. Hold on a second. Let's see here. On the original font, the green node at the top, if I pull this down, right, you'll see when you're in your text tool, you'll see a green node at the top and a green node at the bottom. These are your curve nodes. So I can pull this up or flat. If I use the top node, I can pull it up to a curve or flat. And the bottom node, I can pull that down or flat, right? So down or flat. So either one of the two. So curving it was just pulling that green node up. Now, here's a very cool thing, ladies and gentlemen. On the curved text and everything, you can pull up to 180 degrees. So when you pull that node up or down, up to 180 degrees. But let's say that I needed the Kessler family to wrap around something, an ornament or whatever the case may be. When I'm in that full curve here, I have 2 nodes on the side, on each side, a red node and a blue node. Now, the red node is a rotate. So it rotates based off the virtual pivot point, which is right here. And so if I'm curved, I can grab this red node here and I can teeter-totter or pivot off of that center point, right? Whatever it may be. The blue node, however, if I grab that, you do not pull the blue node up or down. You actually pull it left and right. So if I grab any one of these blue nodes and I pull it to the right, it's going to wrap the text all the way around. And if I pull it to the left, it's going to unwrap it. So if I need to really get around like a globe or a ball or something and everything, for whatever reason, if I just needed to wrap it around tighter than the 180 degrees, I can pull that blue node left and right. So in this case, I don't want that. And I don't want it arched that much, so I'll pull it back down to flat. Move it down here. And like I said, I like a very subtle arch, so we'd pull it up to there. And at that point, it gets welded, and I've already got that welded text. So if I turn that layer off, turn that welded text on, I've got that nice little arch on that welded font, all welded together. Okay, so now I want to make sure that I'm centered left to right. So I select all of this curved text, go to my alignment tool, align to the material left to right. Nice little shift there, and we're good to go. So hopefully that answers your question, Kevin. So you grab the green, when you're in the text tool and you type out any text, you'll have a green node at the top of the bottom, and that's what you can use to curve. Now, that being said, alternatively, I could draw a curve, an arc, a curve, a wiggly line, or whatever, and I could use the tool to wrap the text on a curve. So there's actually a tool that I could make the text follow any curve that I want. Okay? In the case of using the font, the text curve tool, those nodes, it's just going to make an arc. Like when I pull it up, it's just going to make an arc of whatever shape. All right, so hopefully that answered the question. All right, so now here, that same font, let's say that we're now, laying out, an established date or whatever, and it could go anywhere, and it could go at the top of this, the bottom of this, the left, the right. You can see here I went on the left or the right of the house. That's what they preferred. You can also do it down here right above the Central Florida. You can do the established, EST period, in this case, 2018 for the Kessler family. And so you can use each font, but on the established, I do like the script style font. So I'm going to keep that same #1 font. We'll click down here for right now to get we're going to use the regular text this time, not text in a box. So we'll click down here to get the text just to show up right there for a moment. And we'll go EST, lowercase st, EST, period. And then click somewhere else and we'll put in the 2018. I do not put the 2018 and the established in the same text box because I may want the numbers to be slightly bigger and the established slightly smaller, or vice versa, whatever, but I don't want to keep them the same. So it's two separate things, and I will align them using the alignment tool, right? So let's, first of all, when I drew that text, let me undo what I did here. When I drew the text, I was in the top text layer, original top text layer. So that's why that popped up on the screen. It is very important, ladies and gentlemen, that that you make a layer active that you're drawing in, because whatever you do is going to turn on. If you're in another layer, it's going to turn on all the vectors of those layers if they're turned off. So that's why the other original Kessler family popped up when I typed in that established date. So let's do that again. So let's go EST, capital E, lowercase st, period. And then I'll click again over here to create a new text box, and then we'll do the 2018. Now, doesn't matter if I'm keeping the text the same size, making it bigger, or what have you. To align the two together, I can select either of the two, doesn't matter. And I can use the alignment tool, and I can align up and down. I could align to the, one text to the center of the other, to the outside, to the inside, to the center. All that wonderful stuff, but that's not what I want to do. I just want to, if they're crooked, let's say that one was higher than the other, I just want to select them both, and I want to align them up and down, right? I want to get them in alignment. Now I will make the established, slightly larger. And we can throw it over here on the side. We can throw it down here. We can do whatever you want. I'm just showing you some layout. But I am going to make the 2018 just a little bit bigger, and I'm going to throw it over here. And I want the established here because there's something going to go right in the middle here. But on the established, I'm going to kind of throw it over here, and I like the spacing here, so I'm going to select that one first. That's going to be what I'm aligning. Sorry. I'm going to select the 2018 first. That's what I'm aligning. I'm going to hold down the shift key, select the established last. That's what I'm aligning to, the last item. And I'm going to hit up and down, and I'm going to bring that up so that they're, we're in alignment. Okay. Now, if I bring a guideline down and I pop it right here, and let's say that right now I'm centered, the numbers are centered. Let's say I just wanted to align the bottom. I want the bottom to be in alignment. In this case is what I want. I don't want them centered on each other. This was a center, right? The word center there. I want to align to the bottom edge of the board, or the established. So if I click on this, it'll pull that down to that line, right? Because that is the bottom edge of the lowest point of the, and I'm not on the line, I'm right above. They're matching now. So, all right, get rid of that guideline. And so I want to be that there, the established here. And then here, all in here, or whatever, could be whatever. In this case, for the farmhouse, it was a farmhouse. For whatever it was, it was that. Now, the in this particular case, I actually want to use the wrought iron rods and everything, and I want to have them, kind of in this area, and the in between them, I instead of the word farmhouse, I want to put like something like home sweet home, or something homey. I don't want to put milk store because they don't own a milk store, right? I don't want to put country store or anything like that. I want to put something. And what I'd like to have happen is it's going to be kind of right in this general area here. It might even be up a little bit higher right in here, but I want to use those wrought iron swirls. Now, let's say that I did not want to use those wrought irons that I drew, and I wanted to use something else. Well, let's import a little bit of a backup plan. Let's import from our folder some swirls and things. And I also have a really elegant, floral arrangement and things like that, or whatever the case may be. And so on here, again, I'll use the alignment tool, or not the alignment tool, the trace bitmap tool. And on the image, when I have an image, it doesn't matter. I don't need to really stretch it up or any of that stuff. But for me, I only want to trace the items on there, and I want to, my settings are always the same. So for me, it's 75. My default corner fit, I always jump up to 3, maybe 3 or 4, depending on how bad the drawings are and all that stuff. And I can turn the fading off if I want, but I can click preview, apply, and close. And I don't even need to zoom into these, and I'm not going to zoom in because just there's no need to. And I've got my vectors in here, and so now I can scale these bad boys up. Let's make them a little bigger so everybody can, for the world to see. And I've got all these nice little swirls and things that I could use, so I could use these elements instead of the wrought iron elements. And I could even add these elements to the bar with the arrowhead. I could create a nice little swirl pattern on there, right? So kind of a nice little swirl pattern. I would want to make sure it's something that, is kind of linked together, maybe like this part right here and everything. But I could really kind of, oh man, I could just have so much creative fun with this, whatever it may be. And, we have the arrowhead right here and the, the line and all. Hell, I could, imagine if I ungroup, and I select this right here, and I rotate this sideways, instead of the wrought iron, I could, connect all of this together. I'd probably get rid of the 3 circles, because I would come in here with my 1/8 tall rectangle. I'll size it appropriately, but let's go 0.125. Let's go 3/16, 1/875 on this one. And I will probably drag this up to where it's like right in here. So these lines are almost going to kind of transition into this and everything. So I'll drag that into there. I will, make sure I'm centered. How do I do that? I hold down the shift key and I select this guy last. And I use the alignment tool and align up and down to that last item and that little shift there. And then I'll select just these 2 vectors right here, and I'll hit weld. That's not the weld tool. Right over here is the weld tool. And I'll weld that together, right? And so now I have this, and it could be that on the end instead of the wrought iron, right? I could literally kind of just be as creative as I want. And so this can be scaled up or down. Let me hit G for group. This can be, right now it's overscaled, right? It's over large and all that stuff, but it could be scaled up or down. It could be brought over here. It could be mirrored to the other side. And then I'm also going to select this. I'm going to hold down the control key and drag this up to kind of create the upper element. And now notice when I drug this up, I shifted a little bit and it wasn't aligned anymore. And that's just, you know, I don't want that to happen. So how do I prevent that? The alternate key, when I am holding down the control key, and I'll use my pinky for the control key. I'm using a mouse in one hand, pinky on the control key, and my other fingers on the alternate key. Now, in my case, this particular keyboard that I have to hold a function button for the alternate key to be active, right? So I've got pinky on the control key, I've got my ring finger on the function key, and then my first finger on the alternate, right? So here, if I drag this, what's going to happen, the control key, the pinky, that's going to allow me to make the copy. The ring fingers on function, which just allows me to use my alternate key, and my first fingers on alternate. And when I drag this up, I am confined to this vertical movement. If I move my mouse left and right, it only allows me to go left to right down on the item. But if I'm up here, the left to right, you notice how, see how it keeps popping me back down? So I cannot move sideways up here. So if I drag this up, holding that control and alternate key, then let go of the mouse, then, you know, it's in alignment. It stays in that, you know, kind of that parallel, it's creating that parallel plane, if you will, right? That kind of thing. So control makes the copy, alternate key makes restricts that alignment movement. Okay, awesome. All right, so again, I don't think that's the right element for this sign with the florals and all, but that could be one of the elements type of thing, right? So I got all kinds of room to play with and stuff in here. You know, I don't think it's the right one. If it were the right one, then maybe not doubling it up, maybe, you know, having it just as a single element, that kind of thing. Whatever you want, whatever it could be, we have all kinds of options to play with. In this case, let's see what my wrought iron option looks like. And again, I will, first of all, before I size this, I will go to node editing and I'll bring the butt end in a little bit. So I'm going to bring that in. I'm going to kind of stub it up and everything. And on here, on this side, I'm going to grab these nodes and I'm going to drag them, bring that arrowhead just a little bit closer. I want to kind of shorten it up a little bit. That way, I can size this down. I'm going to hit the letter V to flip it so that wrought iron's on the bottom. And I'm going to end up moving the established date most likely, probably. But let's go right here for right now. And then I'm a keyboard shortcut kind of guy, so I'm going to teach you a few. If I hold the shift key and hit the letter H, it's just going to flip it over to the horizontally with the shift key. But remember, the control key makes a copy. So if I hold the shift key, that's going to flip across the center of the board. If I hold the control key with that shift key and hit the letter H, it's going to flip a copy across, right? That's the same thing as going into the mirror tool and checking off both of these boxes, flip about job center, make a copy, and hitting the flip horizontal. The shift, control, H, right? Keyboard shortcut. And the same thing with vertical, shift, control, vertical, right? You know, or shift, control, vertical. So either one. I like keyboard shortcuts and everything and learning those and stuff. And so want to keep that going. So on the wrought iron here, if I was making that, you know, kind of like divider with like initials and names and things like that, what I'm going to do is we're going to do a Keith. And Keith, what is the first name of your significant other, if you don't mind? So I'm going to take this and let's draw the rectangle. And I showed you the node editing with the scissors. So let's go to node editing. Grab these two nodes, and I'm just going to use my right arrow key on my keyboard. Drag, drag, drag. Keep going with that right arrow key. I'm not dragging. I'm just holding the button down until I get over to here. Oh. And then I'm going to take my scissors, trim away. Now, when I drug that, I created an overlap here, ladies and gentlemen. So this is not connected together. So if I take the scissors and I trim up and down like that, it will get rid of those two lines, but it creates this gap. It's a little, I don't know, it's a little bit of a, it's like a glitch, if you will. You know, I don't know what it is. But, and if I undo that, let me show you here. So once again, I have the, let me drag this right here, this overlap, and you know, the scissors may have, I don't think I clicked, but I may have, but here I have the overlap. You can see the pink over the black. Taking my scissor tool and running over those parts, it, maybe I only have to do it once. Let me see here. So let's get rid of that and just run over this bottom one. Yeah. So it's always a little one, either one or both are going to get cut away, but the overlap is gone, except for here. I'll just click join with a straight line and close it back up, right? So now I have that connected all the way across. And I'm actually going to bring this up here and bring this up here. And once again, bring this up here. And I want to align the bottom of these two. So I'll select what I want to align, what I want to align to last, and align to the bottom. I'm going to come in here to like this. Let's bring that in. All right. Hold down the shift key, select this little arrowhead here. Notice I got the vector there and vector there. That's all normal, but at least it'll give me the full length, because now I can align left to right and center it on that. All right, and then I'm going to select all of this and that. Hold down the control key. I'm going to drag this up to here. And where's that function and alternate key? I need to stay in alignment here, right? So I want to stay in alignment. I'm going to come right about here. And then I'm going to hit the letter, no shift, no control, no nothing. I'm going to hit the letter V to flip that upright. And then I'll use the up arrow to give me a little bit of a space there. All right, let's bring this down here. And now in my big bold letters, let's do this one more time. Right in this area, I want to be in this area here. If I use the text tool, when I'm typing, it's just going to fill out and I have to kind of stretch. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to restrict it to this area. So I'm going to draw a box from the inside of that arrowhead at the bottom to the inside of this arrowhead here. And that is going to be my text in a box boundary. I'm going to type in all Keith and space and let's see if Judith, Judith. Don't worry about the letters in the fonts, because it's going to be farmhouse number or milk store number. Is it number 2? No. Is it milk store number 3? Yes. So I got to go down and find milk store number 3. I'm going to do the clean version. And I drew that text in a box, but I didn't have the box selected. So let me select the box. There we go. Let me delete that really quickly. Select the box first. There we go. And then one more time, Keith and Judith. All right, so Judith. All right, so on this, I need to stretch. I want to stretch the characters. Okay. And do I want to stretch the characters here? And I want to go, if I went no margins, it would stretch it right out to the boundaries, right? I want normal margins, so it gives me that. I'm happy with that. I could try to stretch the kerning if I wanted to. And again, depending on what I want to do, but I want normal margins. I don't need vertical stretch is okay. The horizontal is fine. So I'm going to go no stretching here. And I'm going to hold down my shift key and I'm going to just drag this out just a little bit right here. And then I'm going to delete my rectangle, my reference rectangle, because I don't need it anymore. The software will remember when I open up the text box, if I have to change the spelling or anything like that, it will remember my boundary size automatically and everything. So if I open up that text tool and everything, and I click on the Keith and Judith, it will remember that boundary area. Now, it did actually, because I stretched it, it stretched the boundary with it, and that's fine. It still gives me my normal margins and all that stuff. All right, so there we go. Now, the very last thing that I'm going to add to this is I really like this flower, and I was thinking, maybe something like that. But let's go online and let me show you, how I kind of find things and look at things and all that stuff. We're going to go to a Google search, and this is, I know we're running late, guys, or long. We're an hour and 46 minutes in here. I'll try to keep it, we'll be done in just a second. This will be the last element that we add here. But I want to go online and here, and I can use the AI tools to create my own thing if I know how to verbalize it. Or I could go online, and I'm a big Google guy. I like Google searching stuff and all that. But I want a floral element, right? I want a floral element. And if I was doing an AI search, it would be a black and white logo style graphic, very important, the word, but black and white logo style graphic of a floral vine or floral swirl or something to, I would try to find the right verbiage that when I type that in, that I get that image, right? So if I'm doing a Google search of that, I will type in like a floral vine or flourish, whatever the word you want to use. In this case, I want to use vine and then vector. And in my images and everything, because I use the word vine, I'm going to get a lot of vines, right? Those long stringy vines and things, and that's fine. But I may want, there may be an element or something that I want to use, or one element that I can use in mirror or whatever it case may be, but something that is kind of fitting. If I go back, let's look at this. So we have this area right here. I'd love to have some kind of floral, something that's elegant. We're not doing a farmhouse sign. That's your farmhouse sign, right? We're doing something a little elegant here. We got a little established sign, all that stuff, but we need just something that would really be nice here. This looks good, but I don't like the way it V carves. All the leaves V carve out and everything, but it's a really nice looking flower. It does look good for certain elements, but not for this one, So I could look at something along the lines of this and then just cut out what I don't need kind of thing, or I can kind of go in here. But in this area, we have a pretty decent space, and there's like a little narrow area here, and it's wide there. So it doesn't have to fill every void, right? But something in here. So something that's kind of more, there's a curve under the Kessler family, but it could have a little arch to the top of it, whatever it is, but something that's pretty much a little straight with maybe a little arch. That's what I'm looking for visually in my, in my Google search. So when I'm looking at things, And let's take away the word vector. So floral, flourish, vector. Now I'm starting to get into the things that, that might be a little bit more appealing, and it doesn't, it can have a lot of detail, a little detail, that kind of stuff. But, so there's all kinds of words, and I don't always find the right word, until, it hits me. Floral arrangement, floral frame, framed floral, whatever, right? A circular arched floral, all these things I could be, saying and typing in. But, to get the search. So you just kind of find, what looks good. And also, if you're looking at something and you see something, also kind of consider like, well, what if I just take part of it? Part of it. I like part of this and not that. Now, let's assume, and I don't want to hold up on this looking for an image, but I really want to nail this and take this home. So let's, oh, that's almost ideal. I'm kind of liking, these looks of, let's look at, this, I was kind of liking the, the way that looks and all, but let me see what we got here really quickly. I want something with some pop to it, some detail. There's a heart there, right? We're talking about a family, and you can see the kind of up and down there, that same little layout. This could be up there under that archway, and it's kind of got that, it's higher here in the middle than the sides, so it might follow the text fine. So we could do something like that for sure. And then we could also, it doesn't have to be flowers and blooms and all, which I would love. But let's see, let's go, instead of floral, let's kind of do a flower instead of floral, flower, flourish, vector. So we got, kind of might get something with some bloom in it and everything. And I may go back to that heart to wrap this up, but let me just see, give me a minute, and see if we can nail something home. And see, if I was looking at something like this, I would look at, what if I cut the top half off or the bottom, and I use that, or I use this and all. So all kinds of things. And I think I'm going to, not settle. I don't like settling, but I'm going to make this, we got to move along. So the right word will hit me when the time comes, but right now it is eluding me. So what I'll do is I'll do a heart, floral. I will use the word floral this time. Floral, flourish, vector. I'm going to really nail it all home with all those keywords. All right. And so let's go with a little bit of elegance. I'm thinking right here with the little heart right there would look good, right under the family. Right above that, I am content with that. So let's right click and we'll just save the image as. Save. And then really quickly, while my while I'm here, right click, save image as. First of all, let's open image in a new tab where I get the large version, and then save image as. All right. My muscular body, I'm taking my photo shots there. Okay, so we minimize that. Let's import from our downloads and everything. Let's grab, I'm kind of liking that one right there. We'll grab that one first. I will remove anything that's not going to be conducive for me and all that, but I'm going to move it up here to trace it. So we're going to go up here. We're going to go to our trace bitmap tool. Once again, it's black and white, 75. It's rinse and repeat for me. Default corner fit. Bump this up to 3. Turn off the fading. It doesn't matter. trace, apply, and close, turn off the bitmap layer, and then move along. Right, so it's really, with my images, it's rinse and repeat. My settings and all, you know, the goal is to use high resolution images, you know, high pixeled images and everything. Now on this one, it's got everything that I want, except for I'm going to actually remove the two swirls right here, and they are not connected. They are not connected to the flower area. So I'm going to ungroup this particular vector. Let's try that again. Ungroup the particular vector. And I'm going to come over here and I'm just going to select, don't run across there. I'm going to select this and not that. I want to keep this, keep that. And I'm just going to hit delete. Over here, same thing. The sides are not the same, and they're not intended to be the same, but I'm just going to bring them kind of back to that element. So both elements, when I hit delete on this, both elements have that little swirl right there on the left side, that swirl right there on the right side kind of thing. I'm going to reselect this graphic, G for group. I'm going to align it to the center, left to right, make sure I'm centered. I'm going to scale it down a little bit. Hold down the shift key, keeping it centered, scale it down. And then I'm going to kind of find my happy medium here. Now what I want is I want this centered between the top of this and the bottom of this, this S here. So I'm going to draw a line from the bottom of the S to the top of this part here, a 90-degree line. And what that does, why am I drawing that line, is because that line has a center point. So if I select my graphic first, hold down the shift key and select the line last, I can now align up and down to that vector and center it. So now I'm centered between the bottom of the S and the top of this part right here. Get rid of the line. Now that I'm centered, I could see if I want to hold down the shift key and just drag it. Don't rotate it, hit undo. Hold down the shift key and see if I want to drag it out just a little bit more. I want to just kind of just tease it a little bit under that K right there. And I'm happy with that. So it's got a good feel. It doesn't have to fill everything, right? Don't have to. All right, now let's go ahead and carve this bad boy. So we're going to come in here and hold down the shift key. No shift key, sorry. We're going to draw our left mouse button key all the way around all the vectors here. We're going to go over to our toolpath side. Let's get centered here. We're going to go to our toolpath side, V-carve toolpath. I don't need a flat depth, but I do need a flat depth because I have this area right here. It's going to engrave around the word Florida, Citra, and the stars. So I need a flat depth there. So I could choose to do a flat depth on everything, or I could take, and when I select all this, I could take this out of the equation for just this occasion, calculate this with no flat depth. Okay, and then come back into this and just select this, create the V-carve toolpath with the flat depth. I like 1/8 of an inch. That's my go-to. I'm going to use just the 1/8 inch end mill on this one, not the quarter. So 60-degree V-bit, 1/8 inch end mill. I'm going to raster this. I like going with the grain, and I'm going to calculate that. And then I'm going to do a final profile cut. In this case, it's really, I don't need to go around the sides, but let's just do it anyway for visual purposes. Outside the line, Z equals gives me my thickness of my material, which is 1 inch. I'm going to use a 1/4 inch end mill. I want to do a climb cut. I'm not going to do tabs for visual purposes, but I'm going to calculate that toolpath, preview the visible toolpaths on this sign. Get rid of the waste. Let's get this front and center for everybody to see. Let's add a little bit of, let's turn it around first, or, you know, so we can kind of see the sign, right? Let's add a little bit of color for, you know, aesthetics or whatever. And as they, that one comedian would say, there's your sign. Right? So, lots of cool things that we could do. I love the Milk Store font. It gives me a lot of variety to do some things with. It's, again, heritage type company for all those different fonts and everything. And every once in a while they have a sale, 70% off or something like that. This Milk Store font file is $39 on there. I have no affiliation with them or anything like that. But it gave me all the elements I need and everything. And then there's more that I haven't even touched. There's textures, there's all kinds of things. Now, if I wanted to, I could do this as a raised sign instead of just carving it in. Could do it as a raised sign and everything. And it just, I would just kind of reverse this or whatever. Or I need to create an island on that, but I could do it as a raised sign and that would look really good as well too. Maybe a little texture in the background or something, a little whatever. But this is where we're at. Now I'm going to go ahead and up here and hit File, Save As. I will call this Kessler. Keith, I'll send this over to you. You can play around with it, but you would have to, if you need to change the fonts or anything, you would have to get the heritage font file. But Kessler, I don't know, my cap locks are on. Sign, hit save. All right, so let's open up the floor and all. Kevin, you said add lineal. Are you talking about in my Google search the word lineal? What is, gosh almighty, hold on a second now. Hold on, because I gotta actually, let me just type in lineal and let me see what the definition is, just so I know what it is. The term liberal. Lineal. I want lineal. What is lineal? Lineal is not a standard English word. It is a misspelling of liberal or a specific brand of product like a gel, acne treatment, or technical company. Is that the word you meant, Kevin? Lineal? So I'm assuming he's talking about if I add lineal floral. Let me see here. Let me see what that does. Lineal. Is that the right spelling? Heart, floral, flourish, vector. I don't know. We'll see what that says. It gives me probably, it's one, it gives me more of those straight line. Yeah. So you can see the common theme. It's more of those straight line type things. There's the one that we chose right there, right? All kinds of cool choices and things. So lineal. All right. So any other questions on this? Lino apostrophe. Cool. So yeah, Keith. So something that's just something fun, right? Just something fun. But we found some wrought iron. Wrought iron flourishes, wrought iron swirls. We made those little flourishes. We just used the font family that we had. Just fun stuff. Now, didn't have a picture of a house. That's why I didn't make a house sign or nothing like that. But, this is kind of a family sign. So it's something fun. It's just something to play with. It might not be the right elements. It might look tacky. I don't know. I think it looks good, but it's on the fly, right? This is off the top of the dome, ladies and gentlemen, based on an example that, that I created the other day, right? So just something to play around with. And it's a good looking sign. Now, I could have, because aesthetically for me, I'm up here close to the Kessler family, and I got this big old gap down here above Citra, Florida. On this, if I wanted to adjust that, I would do the same thing I did before, is I would draw a line. And for me, I would just pick the S, and I would draw a line straight down 90 degrees to the top of that box. That line gives me a center point to reference to. I would select all of the vectors here and this guy here. I would group them together because I want them in that position. So G for group, and I would select that line last, and then I would hit the alignment tool, line up and down to give that a shift, a little bit of a shift. And now I am centered. The space between here and the space between here are the same space, right? And so with that simple shift, I'm not so crowded up here anymore and everything. And I could simply just go back to my tool paths, and nothing changed down here for that. So I don't need to change that one, but this one here, I can, because I grouped this together, that's no longer selected. So if I select that and recalculate, continue, reset the preview the visible toolpaths, preview the visible toolpaths, and now I am a little more, for me, I'm a little more aesthetically pleasing because I'm centered and everything. And drawing that line, the only purpose of that line is to give me a virtual center point that I can take something and I can align it to the center of that line, right? That kind of thing. So it's just a little layout tip that might help you. And so here's our 2D view and our 3D view, right? All right. So really quickly, question we have. So when I do a V carve with a 60-degree V bit, the time on the Aspire shows that it says 25 minutes. But when I load it to carve on Planet CNC, the time on the carve takes 75 to carve. Why is there a difference? And that's a great question. Well, understand this. Your estimated time, let it switch over to that screen. Give me a second for the computer to catch up. It is an estimated time. The Vectric software, and okay, it was doing an estimated time on everything. Give me 1 second to turn all that off. Stand by. It's almost like my mouse don't want to click. It's thinking. All right. So anyway, while that's thinking, the software can't predict my machine and his machine and Roy's machine and your machine, Kevin. It doesn't know from all the machines what the maximum or the minimum acceleration and deceleration rate are. It can only determine, because it's like driving a car. When I go into a curve, I decelerate. When I come out of a curve, I accelerate, right? And then I can really accelerate on straightaways, and I can get from that 0 to 60 miles an hour and, 0 to 100 miles an hour in 60 seconds, that kind of thing, or whatever. Of course, that's a slow car. But anyway, I can, the software doesn't know every machine out there, so it works off what's called a scale factor. So on my particular 2440 here that I'm set up for, my rapid rate is 150 inches a minute. My scale factor is 1.3. And if I come in here and I select on my tool path that I'm carving, I have an estimated runtime based on that scale factor of 1 hour and 2 minutes. And if I change that scale factor in here, if I change that, or 49 minutes, if I change that scale factor to 2 or 3, 23, or 5 or whatever, it's going to change my time up there. So my estimated time changes. So what you do is you run the carving or any carving on your CNC machine, just the carving, not the tool changing and all, just the carving time. You run your stopwatch at the same time. You hit the start button on the program and the start button on your stopwatch on your phone at the same time, and you time the carve. And then you bring that, when it's finished, you stop your stopwatch, you bring that time back to the Vectric software, and you type in and adjust your scale factor until that time matches or comes close to matching your actual runtime, and that'll bring the software closer to your machine runtime. Because again, the software is just guessing based on a scale factor, which includes accelerations, decelerations, rapid rates, and all these things, and everything. Now, in the newer software, it has machine acceleration here. And now that's, you can choose the different machines and the different acceleration rates. And there's settings for those that you can now start to really hone in that estimated time to get a little bit closer and all. But that's why there's a difference in the time. You've got to set this time in Vectric closer to what your runtime is on your machine, and you change your scale factor to do that. And once you find your scale factor, it's pretty much consistent. Like 1.3 is our default at Digital Woodcarver, but then you adjust it from there. It's pretty much, consistent, or, you don't have to like change it for every carving, but it really does depend on the type of bits, the base, the pass steps, all the up and down, all the, curves and slowdowns, and where it slows down to go over a tab and then speeds back up. All that stuff, Vectric can't determine all that, so it uses a scale factor. That's why it's different. All right, Kurt H., great shortcuts I didn't know about. Thanks. I appreciate that, Kurt. I appreciate you very much. And as always, Ronnie, JR, you guys doing all right?
Yeah, I've been doing good lately.
How's life treating you? I've been doing good too. I just having a little bit of a problems. Right. It happens when you get old. Yes, and yeah. So now Monday, I'm on a diet. Let me tell you something. I might lose weight this week because this next 7 days I'm on a what's called a low residue diet, typically, which is common with colonoscopies and things like that. And so there's a list of things to avoid, a list of things to eat. And I swear to God, it's the same damn list. So I got to make it simple. So I've been eating like scrambled eggs. I can eat eggs. So eggs, pancakes, and just clear liquid water, right? So I've been living for the next 7 days. I'm living off of a meal of pancakes, eggs, and water, and I'm starving to death. I get hangry very easily. So I've been a cranky boy the last couple of days, but other than that, I'm doing great. I'm hoping to find out what's going on with me.
Yeah, I hope they get you sorted out there. Hey, I had a quick question for you, Laney.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, so if you were going to be, this is using some HDU, you're trying to simulate a wood grain, like wood grain panels or boards. What would be your go-to bit for that? Like a tapered ball nose? Or...
yeah, absolutely. If I was simulating kind of a texture or a grain, now, if I was trying to do like a grain, like an actual grain wood, honestly, my bit, it would be a V bit, because here's exactly what I would do. Okay, this is 100% exactly what I would do. So I would literally go online and I would type in wood grain vector 100%. And this will give me some graphics and everything of, different types of, grain, horizontal, vertical, whatever, and I would come in and I would find a grain pattern that I liked, that knowing that it's going to get stretched, right? It's probably not going to get repeated unless I find a repeatable pattern that I can do end to end or something. But I would typically, have this, and it's going to get stretched over my project. So it doesn't matter. You know, I'm fine with it being a little dense like this and everything, because it's going to stretch and it's going to kind of pull those grains out, right? You know, those what do you call them, flares and all that stuff. So, and then when I do a bitmap trace on this, the V bit is going to give me the best look. Now, if I wasn't using a pattern or something like this and everything, and I was just, using the texture tool, tool path, I would be using a ball nose bit. An 1/8 inch tapered ball nose is my go-to. And my vector lines that the vectors that I'm kind of selecting and all, where it says like cut length or, length and all, it would go the full length of my board. So it creates that full vector around all my graphics and text and whatever. If I was using, which I never use, the vector texture tool over here where it draws out these wiggly lines, it's just a pattern of wiggly lines. And yeah, you can add noise and all that, but it's too the same, kind of for me and all that stuff. So I don't like this tool, but I love this tool, right? And with this tool, I could even use selected vectors to run the pattern, on my cut depth and everything, and with whatever bit. But I could choose the vectors of that grain that I found a picture of and traced, right? And then I could use this texture tool with it. It's not going to give me the randomness in everything here, but I like a V bit. Depending on the grain, a V bit's going to give me that nice, kind of like just like that little grain detail and all. But if it's kind of a little bit of a wider grain, I'm going to use either a 1/16 inch tapered ball or an 1/8. Now, an 1/8 will give me a little bit of a wider line. The 16th will be a little bit smaller, but it kind of gives me just a smoother edge and all. So it's one of those 3 bits. And on wood grain, my default is a V bit, because I'm always tracing one of those graphics and it's just a V carve. Now, just really quickly, hang out with me for 2 seconds, guys. Let me just show this and let me just kind of follow this through for a second. Let's imagine here. Let's get this over here for a minute and let's imagine. And Kevin, I'll come back to your question in the chat. Just give me 1 second. Let's imagine I've gone on to Google, and give me just a second to, I really want to hit this home. Give me 1 quick second. I'm going to right click and save this image as. That's fine. Hit save. I'm going to go into the Vectric software and I'm going to import that image. Zoom into it. Trace bitmap tool. I'm going to draw a box. I'm going to draw a box leaving the numbers out. Convert it to a black and white, and I'm going to pull this all the way up till I get kind of the grain I want. And this will have like little splits in the wood, right? So kind of thing. That's fine. I am going to probably be happy with that. Default corner fit noise filter. I actually turn this one up a little bit higher to kind of maybe eliminate some of that. I don't want to eliminate it all, so I don't want to go too high. Click on preview, apply, and close. And get rid of the image. Now, like I said, 90% of the time I'm stretching this along my job, right? So I'll come up here, and I could repeat the pattern too, but I'll usually come over here and drag it out if it's going to cover my whole board. I'll very rarely will I do this, right? I try to keep the aspect ratio. So I'll drag it out, because all I'm going to do at this point is I'm going to take my rectangle right here. I'm going to offset it inward just maybe a little bit, no more than a 16th, right? So I'll go, in this case, I'll go like a 32nd, 0.03125. Create that square corners inward, bring that in. Actually, I'm an idiot. Let's do a 16th. I forget how big my sign is. 06. I'll just go 06. My sign's fairly big, right? So on here, once again, I'm going to bring this over. And I'll leave those vectors just that far away. So I'm not really worried about that. That's all good. But now I'll select this, hold down the shift key, select this line last, and I will use the regular trim tool and clear inside or outside, outside the boundary. So I'll click on that, give it just a second. I should have zoomed out so you could see exactly what it's doing, but give it just a second, guys. Hang with me for this few minutes. This is a cool little trick. And while we're doing that, let's see here. In Vetric group meeting, is the Vetric group meeting worth getting up at 5 a.m. for 2 days? It's a pretty good meeting. Have any of y'all ever attended the virtual Vetric online seminar that they have each year? Any of y'all ever that are in the chat and all that stuff? You ever attended it? I've attended it in person, like live person in Denver. I haven't done the online one yet, and all because for what no reason in particular, but they've got Cutting It Close. Ryan is talking. He's a guest speaker at that live event. And Ryan, I love his videos. I love his knowledge base and everything. So I would really be interested to hear what he says. So it would kind of be worth it to listen, to listen to his seminar for sure in that Vetric group meeting. The other two guys, I don't really know them all per se, or and what they're all about. But I believe one of them is one of the guys from the Amana Tool, the one that always does the videos and stuff. But and then they're gonna the design and make and Doug and everybody are gonna talk, and Becky and all that stuff. It's good stuff. It's good learning and all, and it's worth it. But now, why is it 5 a.m.? Normally it's not that early in the morning. Now it might be 5 a.m. for the UK, but not for us. But it could be because they're in the UK, so they might do it at their 8 o'clock in the morning, which is our 5 a.m. because they are 6 hours or a few hours difference. This is still trimming. Give it just a second. I probably didn't need to have all the vectors selected. I probably just needed the vectors on the border and all that stuff. But now, alternately, I could have just selected the vectors and deleted all the ones that were outside. I could, instead of trimming. But this is halfway done.
So let's do that. Another question there. So choosing your type of tool, this is going to be a 3 foot by 7 foot sign. Mm-hmm. And so would that change anything, your decision, or would you still continue to use the same V bit?
Yeah, I would still use it. It would not change my and for me it's the 60-degree V bit is my go-to on grain and stuff. It would not change my decision whatsoever. Now what would change would be my my ball nose bit and everything. I would want to make sure that the step over is adjusted to where it's not going to be like hours to run that or anything, because it's got it's got an 8% step over and all for it's set for kind of 3D model carving, and this really isn't 3D model carving. And also I would just make sure the settings were adjusted and all accordingly, but that would not affect me whatsoever. I would still stick with the V bit.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Yep. And this is almost done. It's 3/4 of the way done. Hang tight for just a few more minutes, folks, so you can see this end result. And hang tight.
Any issues with that HDU pushing those bits around let's say 500 inch per minute?
No.
Can I run it?
My God, those bits carve so beautifully, and that it's like butter, man. You can move some material. Yeah,
because otherwise, some of these times are ridiculous for doing this, and I'm like,
no. And hey, while we're waiting for this to calculate, I have found a fairly decent speed and feed calculator that I like online. So while that's calculating, it's only got a few more seconds to calculate. But while it's calculating, let me come in here and let me show you this speed and feed calculator. Speeds, bear with me a second. CNC speeds and feeds calculator. I don't remember the name of it off the top of my head, but it is the let me come down here. Little shop. Give me a second to find it. It was kind of hidden in the back pages. And I found it when I was teaching a class today. And it was, kind of a decent fan of it. So it's not that one. Let me see. CNC router bit speeds and feeds calculator. How come Google for someone else is not the same search for me? It's not any of the common big builds and all that. It's an off brand, but give me a second. Let me see how we're doing here. All right, so that's done trimming. So what it does, it gets rid of all the outside stuff and it trims up to that line really quickly. Delete that line, and now I've got a good layout here, you know. All right, let's really quickly. I don't want to jump back and forth too much, but dadgummit, it's a good one too. So router bit speeds and feeds calculator. It's not Cutter Shop, and it's none of the big brand names and all that crap. It's not, it's a little standalone. And it was in the back pages, but it was the perfect, it didn't have a bunch of all kinds of crap. It was just like straightforward. And the results were pretty bang on. And it was in the class. And here's what we're going to do. Here's how we're going to find it. We're going to come here real quick and we're going to go into my ScreenPal program. Wait for it. ScreenPal is a great screen recording program if you ever need it. We're going to open up this video, and right towards the end, when we were talking about speeds and feeds, when we were talking about speeds and feeds. Oh, come on now. It's a little flash of a frame. CNC feeds and speed calculator, and it's cncfeeds.com. cncfeeds.com. Yeah, there it is. Okay. Now, this little guy, it's a single page. There's not a bunch of ads or Onefinity or all bull crap and all that stuff, right? So in here, you choose, softwood, hardwood, plywood, melamine, MDF. You choose the type of bit, let's say a downcut bit to flute, the size of the diameter. I want to go, we'll set it at 18,000 RPMs. Material cut depth, 3/4 inch thick. The number of passes, I'll let it automatically recommend the passes. And the cut type is a rough cut or a finish cut type. And this, I want a nice clean finish cut. And so over here, based on these settings, 217 inches per minute for the feed rate, 102 for the plunge. Passes, 1/8 of an inch per pass. It'll do it in 6 passes. Step over, 0.037. And the quick reference, plywood and all. So that would be my settings for the bit. And so far, I'm liking it.
So is that taking into
um,
consideration your machine type, or no?
Nope. It's just taking in consideration what is recommended for the type of material you're trying to cut, the router bit that you're using, your depth of cut, how deep you're cutting through and all that, and it's based on your RPMs and all, and it's and the type of cut, finish or rough cut. So it's estimating all that. It doesn't matter if you're carving on a Shapoko or a damn digital wood carver. It doesn't matter. So now what does matter is if I'm carving on my 2440, I can carve up to 250 inches a minute. So 218 is really pushing it and all that stuff. But, I'm only doing 1/8 inch passes. So I can get really close to that, but I don't need to be running it at 55 inches a minute and, stuff like that. You know what I mean? So this, I'm really liking this calculator and everything. Now, as far as the HDU, it doesn't have that type of wood choices or, material choices and stuff in there and everything, but it is so far it's looking pretty good, pretty promising on this cncfeeds.com. All right, let's go back here really quickly. Let's wrap up. I didn't mean to jump over to that subject, but there we go. So now we have this board. Now let's say we have a word, right? So let me come in here and let me we'll come in here and we'll just type in home, HOME. And on here, I'm going to select some of the vectors around my word home. Well, first of all, that's a lie. I'm going to select home and I'm going to offset home outward. And I like an 1/8 of an inch offset, so I'm going to offset 1/8 of an inch. And G for group. And then I'm going to select my vectors right in this area, making sure that I select any vector that's kind of crossing over, even that little guy right there. Make sure that if the vector is touching it, make sure it's selected, but I don't need to select everything, just this. And I'm going to go into once again, the trim tool. On the trim tool, turn off your text here. Make sure it's all turned off, but select all the vectors first, and then this graphic or the outline, this offset last. Clear inside the boundary and hit clear. This will be a little bit faster, much faster. Give it a second. It's doing pretty good on the time. Almost there. It's moving at a pretty decent speed. Kevin, then do I take the results and change the bit setup? Do I take the results and change the bit setup? Yeah, you would take the results of that speed and feed if that's what you're referring to, Kevin, and you would go in and you would change that for your tool path. Now, I wouldn't change it in my tool database. I'd kind of keep my tool database there just for the primary, right? Because this is a new setting, so I would test the setting, right? I would change it in the tool path. So I can go into any one of my tools in my tool path. I can select and I can edit that tool just for that tool path. It doesn't overwrite my tool database. And then I'm going to take that tool path to the table and I'm going to carve it. And if I need to make any adjustments or anything on the fly, great, I'll do that. But if I'm liking it, then I'm going to come back to my tool database and I'm going to program that in, right? And I'll change my settings. But for that material that I'm carving, so in your tool database, Kevin, at the top, you can come in and you can set materials for, like, you can add materials for walnut, maple, plywood, MDF, HDU, whatever. and you can set tool settings for each of those different materials. So because if you look at that, let me hit close here. Oh, cancel close. If you look at that calculator, notice that for plywood, I'm running 218 inches a minute, but for hardwood, it's 170 inches a minute. For softwood, it's 267. So depending on the type of material and all, it's going to change that, right? So you would set up the different materials. All right, so now I have home here. This offset that I created gets deleted. Don't need it no more. Now I got a nice little outline around my letters and all, right? So once again, I'll come in here and I'm going to do a V-carve toolpath on the whole thing except for my border. No border there, ladies and gentlemen. In this case, I'll do a flat depth with my text there. So V-carve toolpath. Let's do an 1/8 inch flat depth just for right now. 125. We'll use a 1/8 inch end mill just for right now. Select, and I'm using starting at 0, cutting 1/8 of an inch, 60-degree V-bit, 1/8 inch flat depth. I've got all the grain vectors and my text in this case selected. We're going to calculate that. Continue. There's a couple of open vectors, the little lines and all that are ignored. That's fine. Going to click OK. I'll go in and find those lines and all, but then I can, carve this sign. And, I can get that grain type texture, whatever it may be. Now, the flat depth, let's turn off the color here so we can see what we're looking at and all. The flat depth is doing some of these larger areas on these larger flares and stuff, but the V-bit is doing the edge work and all. And so, but, I can kind of get that, simulated grain going on there, right? And that's how if I was doing it, Ronnie, that's exactly how I would do it now. And it might not be the look you're going for, but it gives me a nice grain pattern depending on what image I use. And then, in that. So that's kind of my go-to method when I want to do wood grain, kind of a faux wood grain or simulated wood grain on the board.
Right on. Thanks, Lane.
Yeah, man, no problem. All right, everybody. Listen, we're at 2 hours and 37 minutes on this. Let's go ahead and call it a night. We did. We laid out 2 signs. Everything looks good and all, and so we'll say goodbye for now. Tomorrow night, I don't know what the class is. I'll figure it out, but we'll have a class tomorrow night for everybody that's in the public and all. So join me over there then. And until next time, as always, Ronnie, JR, thanks for joining me on the camera. And everyone else, thanks for joining me in the chat. I really appreciate each and every one of you. You know I do. Y'all have a wonderful night. And I'll keep you updated on how I'm doing and everything.
Yeah, all the best for you.
I'm not dying. I'm not going anywhere. Don't you worry. We're still going to have some training and all that stuff, but we'll go from there. JR, really quickly before I say my goodbye to you and everything, just a big shout out. If you when you just finally get that limit switch kit installed, you got to get with me to help you set up your software settings and everything. So be sure to do that when the time comes. Okay, buddy? All right. See ya. Have a great night.
Take care.